Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Gather for Her. I'm going to pass in a moment to my sister of Powerhouse, Charlene. But before we do that, let me just want to introduce you a little bit of what you've just stepped into. You're watching Gather for Her from Powerhouse Impact Media Group, a house of leaders for global change makers. And we use media as the beat of our drum. And today you have stepped into a conversation with Deb Alcadinho. And you are with us for as long as you can be with us. This conversation goes on for about 45 minutes to an hour. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on Facebook. We are a community of change makers, and we want to hear from you about the change that you're up to in the world. And Deb today is going to give us some insights into that change work that she's up to in the world. And then we're going to invite you to come and join us on the leader path and be with us so we can amplify your change work. I'm Tina O, and I'm part of the Braid, and I am so grateful to be here on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Squamish people. I'm live from Naquelaquam, also known as Bowen Island, and I am a story listener. And I'm going to pass to the founder of Powerhouse Impact Media Group, Charlene Sanjanko, to gather us up together and begin our conversation. Over to you, Char.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning. I want to explain that we touch each host this morning. We bring each of our energy to this conversation before we introduce our guest. And if you've ever wondered why we take a moment to introduce ourselves, it's not just so you know what my name is or where I'm from. Although it's very important to me that you know where my home community is. I am Charlene Sanjanko, and I am hosting you this morning from my community here on the Sunshine Coast. I have the pleasure of living, working, and playing on the Squamish First Nations land, the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Squamish First Nations. And it's my pleasure to welcome you this morning. I want to pass over to my co-host, Christina Benti.
Good morning, and thank you. So my name's Christina Benti, and I am joining you today from the Rocky Mountain community of Golden, BC, which is also the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa and the Shuswap peoples and the Columbia River Métis. And all of you are welcome here. So we're thrilled to have you here, whether this is your first time or whether you've been joining us for the last couple of years in this conversation. I am always listening for what needs to be illuminated in the system so that we can participate in change making in ways that are meaningful and rich and have a contribution to freeing people up and making a difference in the world. So I'm excited to be here and to have this conversation with Deb. But I'm going to pass to Sharon first to introduce herself.
Thanks, Christina, and welcome everyone. My name is Sharon Marshall, and I'm coming to you today from the traditional and ancestral territories of the Snuneymuxw and Snuneymuxw First Nations of the Coast Salish people here on beautiful Vancouver Island. And in particular, I am in Lantzville, and so I am very fortunate to live, work, and play here. I'm not from here. I'm from Edmonton, and so that's Treaty 4 territory. And I come to this conversation excited to have a conversation with Deb. But I bring an Indigenous lens to the conversation, and just excited to be here. So thank you. I'll pass it back to Tina.
Thanks, Sharon. Lovely to be here. If you're just joining us, I'm seeing our numbers go up. So people are dialing in right now. Oh my gosh. Does that age me? Oh my gosh. You're joining us right now. You have just jumped into Gather for Her, a conversation series with Powerhouse Impact Media Group. We're a house of leaders and change makers for global impact. And we use media as the beat of our drum to amplify your change work. So please use the chat. We can hear you and see you. And I'm going to toss back to Char to introduce Deb.
Thanks so much. It's my pleasure to welcome a fellow changemaker, a purpose-driven entrepreneur, and a fierce businesswoman, to be quite honest with you. Thank you for being here this morning, Deb Alcadinho of Business for Social Good. I want to tell you just a little bit about Deb. She, and we'll dig right into this, she was 10 years old. She was 10 years old, a little prairie girl, when she first woke up to the hunger in her for serial entrepreneurship. And that led to years of self-reliance. And not only did she own 7 small business ventures in varying business sectors while raising a family of 3 boys and working full-time, she has gone on now with her gifting in media and marketing, as well as that tenacity of serial entrepreneurship, and become a graduate in sales and marketing, to now take the culmination of all of these gifts, which is really where I love to play, and really looked at what is the highest purpose, what is the highest contribution I can make now at this age and stage of my life with the gifts I'm able to bring to the table. And today we're talking about business for social good. And as we have that conversation, I ask you to sit with that same question for and of yourself. Good morning, Deb. Welcome.
Good morning. My gosh, a lovely introduction. Thank you. So honored to be here.
We're really excited for the conversation. And I think just before we dig into our questions, I'd love to ask you to, if you can remember, I'm just curious, like that 10-year-old girl, do you remember like what that little poke was and what woke that up in her to start this journey? I'm just really curious on your reflection.
Well, hindsight's 2020, and we tend to draw the correlations the older we get looking backward, right? But yeah, I clearly remember that time in my life. You know, my mom and dad, my dad in particular, was very, very driven to save. And financial security was very important to him. And so this chatter of being, you know, self-reliant and self-sufficient was something I heard my whole life. So yeah, at 10, I took that to heart, literally, and saw an opportunity and started a little recycling company. And that was just the first of many businesses to follow. Yeah. And it's like any entrepreneur, we see an opportunity and we do something with it. Yeah.
I love that. And that is really a great segue into the deep dive of where you're at now and the opportunity that you see. I'm curious, knowing your passion for social impact and the gifting and the background and the expertise, quite frankly, that you have in media and marketing. Can you tell us just a little bit about like Business for Social Good, where that arose from, and really what your vision is for this change-making vehicle?
That's a big question, because there's so much in that. So let's start at the beginning. That's probably the best place to start. So you're right. I mean, I have a long history in media and marketing. Marketing, I love. I love the whole genre of marketing. I get it. I always have. And the fact that I worked for a decade in media was just a lovely extenuation to this love that I have of marketing. But Business for Social Good, you asked me where that started. And I think it's always been part of me. Honestly, I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but I think it's always been part of me, and it's really just risen in the last decade, but really more predominantly the last couple of years. So what I mean by that is social impact has been something that has been close to my heart long before I ever knew what social impact was. Now there's just a name for it or a label for it. But when I envisioned Business for Social Good, actually, I'm just gonna take a step back. 10 years ago, I became aware, I think, of this social impact space. And the pivotal moment for me was when I heard Bill Gates' speech to the Economic Forum. And I so clearly remember him saying, the issues of the world, and obviously I'm paraphrasing, but the issues of the world cannot be solved by government and philanthropy alone. And when I heard that, I'm like, there's something there. And so after that, I just started kind of at first listening, watching, reading, kind of following this, what kind of became a trend, following this speech and this awakening in consumerism. And so I just really delved into this conversation and books and research and things like that. And then about 3 years ago, I started to really, really actively look at this social impact space. There's something here. This is more than a trend. This is a way of doing business. This is more. This is something more. And I just kept hearing this. There's something more. There's something more. And I'm actually going to share with you. I don't say this to too many people, but I think it's a good space to share it here. We were actually on a plane ride home from Europe. We were visiting our oldest son. And I'd taken some work with me, but not a ton. And on the plane ride home, I don't know, call it an epiphany, call it a download, call it whatever you want. And I was doing some journaling, and all of a sudden, the whole framework for Business for Social Good just came together. And I'd had all these fragmented thoughts and kind of envisionings of, if I built something, this is what it would look like. And I'll tell you, in that moment and in that time on that plane ride, everything just crystallized, and it became the framework and literally the roadmap for what Business for Social Good is today. And this piece of voice, vision, and heart just keeps coming up for me. And so I really believe that my purpose in this whole social impact lens is to give voice, vision, and heart so that I can contribute to humanity and help others do the same. So your question about media and marketing, I really think that media and marketing are just the tools to give me the wings to do that, and to give wings to the clients' voices that we serve, to give wings to our clients' voice, vision, and heart, the impact that they want to achieve, and ultimately just create the collective impact that we all want to see possible.
Oh, we all want to see possible. I just need to jump on that. And as I jump on that, if you're just joining us, you've just popped into Gather for Her, which is a bi-weekly conversation series with Powerhouse Impact Media Group. We are a house of leaders for global impactors and global social change makers. And we are talking to a change maker this morning, Deb Alcadinho. And you can see the link to Social Business for Social Good below. Okay, so Deb, you as you know, on the leader path, right, which is in the house, when I'm listening for whether someone is called to be on the leader path, I always say there's two things that I'm listening for. One, do they get up in the morning with a sense of, oh my gosh, I have to contribute. Like there's just like, it's just inside of them. Every morning, contribute. And the second thing is they've got a just statement in their head, which is like, if people could just, if this just, and that speaks to the urgency. I'm really curious about yours, because I can hear in everything you've said, I'm like, oh yeah, ting, 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 ting. Person is called this person, and I know that's a big word, but like that's a word that I use. I'm wondering if you can speak to your just statement, or which I think, I'm just going to leave it at that. Is there anything there for you?
My just statement. There's a few things that come to mind. I just believe that there's no better time than now, that this is the time to create social impact, that this is just the perfect time to use our businesses as vehicles for change. I just believe in the core of my being that we have a responsibility as business owners to do more than just manufacture or just sell a product or a service. That it is just, there's that word, that it is just, that it is just a deep sense of responsibility for us as business owners, as change makers, to look around us and say, what do I want to see changed? What is important to me as a human, to me as a business owner? What is that thing, that cause, that issue, that social, environmental, humanitarian thing that makes me mad, makes me sad, lights me up, that thing that puts me on my soapbox? We all have something that we connect to that we would really like to see changed. And I'm just going to retract that. I don't think that we all know that. I said we all know that, but I actually don't think we all know that. I think sometimes it takes guidance to unearth that. And that's a big part of what I do with people, is to help them unearth that. But I think it's just that. It's that awakening, that awareness of, what can we do? What do I see possible for the world? The United Nations, laid out these beautiful 17 sustainable development goals for us as humanity, as civilization. And I just really believe that there's something in there for everyone to connect to and to resonate with. And honestly, we don't have to look too much further than our own community to, wherever our communities are, to find something that lights us up, that we look around us and say, man, if somebody could just solve that thing, our world or our nation or our community would be a better place. And I just think that now's the time. Honestly, now's the time. So let's get busy. We got a lot of work to do.
I love that because I think it's, anytime that you say somebody should do something about something, that's your clue that it's something that you care about, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's your soapbox moment.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that we talk a lot about at and we live is braiding for impact. And so one of the things I'm curious about, because you were raised, and I can relate to this, to be very independent, very self-reliant, to be self-responsible. As that and holding that type of thinking, what does braiding for impact mean to you, and how do you hold the both and of being self-reliant and braiding for impact?
Yeah, it's almost like a dichotomy, isn't it? Right? It's you're those two words are a dichotomy: self-reliant and braiding. Right? How can you be self-reliant if if you're braiding? But I can easily separate them. So for me, at this, and Charlene used these words at the very beginning about this age and stage of your life. I think for me, braiding means a lot of things, and they are still very closely tied to being self-reliant and there was another word I was looking for there, but I can't think of it. So yeah, for me, braiding means unity, co-creation, collaboration, collectiveness, right? So collectively making an impact, collectively making a difference. But braiding is all about those three words for me: unity, co-creation, and collaboration. We're better together, we're stronger together. And how can we do that? And braiding for impact is the way.
I just want to jump in with a really, really quick story. I promise it's fast. Sometimes it helps to take us out of the business mindset when we talk about braiding for impact for a second. And I ask you to think about a time where this might resonate for you, like what this would be. When I was a young girl, I had the opportunity to play a duet, not only with one other person, but with 3 pianos all together. And it was a song called one of the Hungarian Rhapsodies. And I remember I was very, very, very committed. This was like a highlight of my year, and I would practice and practice and practice and practice. And my part sounded pretty good, right? But the night of, when 3 grand pianos were on the stage and 5 people were playing all together, including my piano teacher, Mrs. Papagitter. Oh my God, it was actually like out of this world, and to be an experience of that. So I go back to, I sounded pretty good on my own. I actually was rocking it pretty good. But then with those other women, all that were prepared and brought their very best, they had practiced equally as hard as I. I believe the universe planted those moments in time for me as lessons. And that's what braiding for impact is for me.
Beautiful story.
I want to toss to you, Sharon, to see what's coming up for you. If you're just joining us, you've just popped into Gather for Her, which is a bi-weekly live conversation series from Powerhouse Impact Media Group. Powerhouse is a house of leaders for global impact. We use media as the beat of our drum to amplify change makers and leaders just like you. And Sharon brings an Indigenous lens. We're a bridge organization of Indigenous and non-Indigenous, weaving together the wisdom, our harvested wisdom, for a greater good that we're all co-creating together. So I just want to toss to you, Sharon, in response to Deb and what's coming up for you.
Thank you, Tina. And thank you for that story, Shar. That was
Mhm.
a very good
Mhm.
example of braiding for impact. And so for me, when I think of braiding for impact, I think of the economies of skill. You know, you come together with your highest giftings, and I can't do everything, and I'm not good at everything, you know, and I don't want to be good at everything. And so our braid consists of 4 brilliant women that are very skilled in certain areas, and together we can create amazing things. And so that's how I see braiding for impact. But I wanted to talk a little bit about your marketing background, Deb, because it interests me because you have this social impact heart, which, in my opinion, like it draws me in because I'm Indigenous, and you know, I feel that you, the way you do your business and the way you think, it falls in line with Indigenous ways of knowing and being.
Mhm.
And so, but marketing is so not. You know, I'm taking a marketing class in my MBA program right now, and it's very it could use some decolonizing. Let's put it that way. So how do you work with? You love marketing. How do you change the marketing to suit your the way you envision the world should be? How have you been managing that? That, you know, if you have 1 or 2 quick tips that could help us out, that are, you know, finding that it's a bit of a something that needs to be changed.
Yeah, it's a big question, but kind of high level. I think we have this beautiful tool called social media. You know, love it or hate it, but it allows for the authentic voice, right? It allows for um, a it allows for us to digress away from the traditional norms of media, the traditional ways of communicating through those very old traditional marketing and media ways to allow for a more authentic voice to come through through our social media. But at the end of the day, I think we can. It's funny. I was just having a conversation yesterday with some ladies in Ontario, and we were talking about not being followers in the ways of, well, you have to do business this way and you have to do business that way. It's like, well, no, we don't want, we want to do business not only authentically, but morally, ethically, and not do the, I was going to say bait and switch, but you know what I mean? Some of the,
Yes.
the ways of communicating and marketing that just doesn't feel right. Like, why do I have to do it that way? And I think we're at that time in civilization and humanity where it's like, we're going to do things the way that it feels right for us. And we're going to do things with integrity and authenticity and using our own value system to show up with our business the way that we want to be treated. And that's just bringing people in, right? You attract people that are of like mind and like philosophies and methodologies and like value systems. So I think that's how I use it, is to speak authentically. And
Wonderful. That just reminds me of, you know, I mean, you've said basically what we're trying to do with leadership. You know, we're decolonizing leadership by this braid that we have, and doing business differently, leading differently than what is seemed as the norm, right? And it feels good, doesn't it? It feels like that's the only course that we can go. We can't go any other way. That's where we're being guided.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful for you to hear.
Yeah. And those barriers are being broken down all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
we are seeing that this new way of doing business, new way of leading, new styles of leadership, it's changing. People are ready for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's time.
I want to
Wonderful.
jump in on that if I
Thank you.
can. Sorry,
Mhm.
Sharon, to interrupt you. I'm going to be bold. And, from my previous career in sales, I used to like when I was engaging with people, and maybe this isn't bold, maybe just the context I used to think it from in sounds a bit yucky, but
Mhm.
but it actually applies here okay, just keep talking, Tina. Okay. I file people kind of in categories, and I don't mean to say that anyway. You if you know my heart, you'll know that's not a dangerous thing. But I'm like, they're like 20% of the world are just the get it, got it, gone people.
Yeah.
They're just waiting for someone to open the door. Like, oh, I didn't even know there was a door there. Oh, there's a door. Social impact. We can do this. Marketing. Awesome. I got it. I'm gone.
Mhm.
And then there's also a 20% that are kind of they're stuck in something, and they're the armchair warriors, and they're watching.
Mhm.
That's fine. They are where they are. They're going to shift as they shift or not. But
Mhm.
there's also the biggest market, of course, is the middle, which are the middle 60%. And again, these are my numbers. And they're what I call the happy followers.
Mhm.
And what I'm starting to see, and what I'm noticing you say, and one of you can speak to this, marketing really is about that middle 60% because they're the biggest market. And yet the 20% is the high concept, the get it, got it, gone. And it sounds to me like what I'm hearing you say is that people are ready for this. And I wonder if there's a 60-20 merge happening, or there's modeling in the 60 and then come with us in the 20. Or tell me a little bit about, I think I got snagged in a good way around your word follower and the importance of following, and what are we following?
There's definitely a shift. 100% there's a shift. There's a shift in consumerism. There's a shift in employee engagement, all of those things. With respect to your comment about the percentages and stuff like that, yeah, I think I think for sure there's going to be movement in those categories, because for a couple of reasons. I think people are searching. People are searching right now for where they fit into this new, I'm not even going to say new normal, this new place of being. And that might sound weird. How do I quantify that? I think
you're on it, Deb. Yeah, I think you're on it. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's just there is such a shift happening in so many aspects of our life, right? A shift with choice of career, choice of who we want to work for, who we want to do business with, who we choose to spend time with. I mean, if COVID taught us anything, it is to have a bit of introspection and to make choices about what's important. So the shift is occurring across all plateaus of our lives. So for sure, there's going to be a shift in followers and in leaders and in concepts that resonate with us or don't resonate with us. And I think the whole issue of social impact fits so well into that, because it is, I might be going off your question, off the topic of your question, Tina, and I apologize if I am, but I just think that with the social impact lens, everybody is searching for, not everybody, but a lot of people are searching for where they fit into this new paradigm that we're going into. And social impact and connecting to something that is important to you as a human is, I think there's really something there for people. We all want to belong. We all want to belong to something, and hitch our wagon to something that feeds our soul. And so what is that for people? You know, if you're a follower or you're a leader, we need both. I mean, the world needs both to make visions come to life, to reality. So I think I went off on a tangent there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you answered it beautifully. I love those kinds of answers. Yeah, and I want to move into just not move into, but we need both and we need all. And I know your heart, so I know that's in there. It's not duality, it's the allness. Yeah, thanks, Deb.
I just wanted to jump in and kind of talk about the fact that I think what we're saying is that people want to live at a higher level of consciousness, right? They want to pay more attention to their decisions, and they're wanting to live less by default. And I actually think that the pandemic has taught us that. It's like, oh my gosh, what are all the ways that I've been living in default and just following into these same patterns? And I actually think the global pattern disruption sort of, it's exactly what unearths us out of our previous way of living and moving and kind of lack of consciousness, right, in our decision making. So I think the opportunity here, and that's why we're seeing so many businesses starting to talk about things like change making and talking about social good. Yeah. It's because it's like, oh my goodness, I need to start paying attention differently. 100%. And let's face it, life is what you pay attention to.
Yeah, 100%. Well said.
Yeah. I'm curious, Deb, because of your upbringing. You had me when you said, you were an entrepreneur at 10, because at 10 I was as well. I sold Regal catalog, and
I did too.
I remember getting that at the back of the comic and getting my mom to sign it, and she signed it, and I was so excited. And oh yeah, that supplied me my clothes for the year, because I had to have this clothes like everybody else, and that I loved it. So you were taught at a very early age about entrepreneurship, and you loved it, and so now you have 3 boys. Do you inspire them to? What are their ages, and do you inspire them to do any entrepreneurship?
Great question. Yeah, our boys are 31, 23, and 20, almost 21. And so, our middle son is very entrepreneurial. I think our youngest son will be in time. Hard to say, but they've grown up with me, with seeing me, be many things, right? An employee, an employer, a business owner, a board member, a volunteer. So they've grown up with seeing me on all sides of the equation, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with their lives. our 31-year-old that has a career that he's very passionate about. So I'm not sure that he'll go to entrepreneurship, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if the younger two did. We'll see.
Wonderful. My son, when he was in elementary, he started selling jewelry, making jewelry and selling it, and I was so proud of him, and he gave it up. And I think the kids, so they watch me and they see, you know, and I think that, like, my daughter's working for me right now, and so she's, you know, a VA, and so that's
Awesome.
her start, right? But yeah, I just had to ask that question. And then I think I'm going to jump and ask a different question. And that is, what do you think about reciprocal partnerships?
Oh, I think there's huge value to that. Another word for those is strategic alliances. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. There's tremendous merit for that, you know, and it gets back to that unity and that collaboration and co-creation, right? Those three words that come up for me. But yes, if you can align yourself strategically with someone who shares a similar database, right? Like a similar customer base. There's tremendous opportunity for you to work together and serve those customers. Can I tell a little story? Do we have time?
Please do.
Yeah. So a great example was when I was in media, and there was in this town, there was a pet food company, a pet food store, retail. They're both retail outlets. One was a pet food store, and another one was a dog groomer. It was a dog groomer. And these two women were on opposite sides of the town, and they learned about each other's businesses, and they were like, well, hold on a sec. We are serving the same market, but our customers don't know about each other business necessarily. So they created a strategic alliance, and they created a little card, and it was a referral card. So the pet food store gave out the cards to the groomers, and it was and vice versa. They each had this little card that they shared back and forth. So when pet food was purchased, they got a free nail trim. And when grooming services were purchased, they got whatever free thing was at the pet food store. So yeah, there's so much opportunity, and it doesn't necessarily have to cost you anything. I mean, if you're in retail, you can work out great alliances with your vendors and your suppliers on samples and, discounted product, various opportunities that vendors and suppliers might have that you can take advantage of. There's so many examples of great strategic alliances with people that have products, people that have services, but it's all about, again, thinking beyond your business and co-creating with someone, collaborating with someone. Hey, what can we do together? And I think it's that conversation. It's about people being open to the conversation. Let me learn more about what you do. And it's through those conversations of curiosity that you learn more about a business or a business owner, that it goes beyond the elevator pitch, right? So when you're networking, and take the time to learn about people and learn about businesses, because it's through those moments of curiosity that you're like, there might be something there. How can we work together?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
How can we lift each other? Lift as we climb, right?
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
going to toss to you in a sec, Shar, if I can, because I think you're picking up on where I'm going. But I want to just pop this in. If you're just joining us, we're just about to close gather gather for her conversation. Gather for Her is a bi-weekly conversation series with change makers from Powerhouse Impact Media Group. You're listening to the Braid and a change maker that we are highlighting today, a sister in the house, Deb Alcadinho. And I wanted to just jump, Deb, on reciprocal and strategic alliance, because
Mm.
because Powerhouse is we're a bridge organization of Indigenous and non-Indigenous, and it's like even like shifting our languaging around strategic alliance versus reciprocal brings in that Indigenous lens.
Mm.
And even though they are, you might even say, like on paper, if we had to draw it out, they're essentially the same thing. But when I say reciprocal, it feels different in my body than
Mm.
strategic. And I think about, who do I want to do business with that I would serve, and I would serve the peas at my turkey dinner to, like, can I pass you the peas? Well, of course, you're going to pass me the corn, like I'm being silly, but I'm not. Like, I'm actually not being silly. It comes down to a fire circle conversation we had about one family. And I'm going to toss to you, Shar. I'm not sure where you were going, but that's the thread that I picked up on, and just want to I pass to you, and not to correct you, Deb, at all,
No,
but
no,
more
it's
just
fine.
to add another layer
Yeah.
to our thoughts and decisions and words and such. Okay, over to you, Shar.
No, I love it, and I guess I would just add this. I I think that it's an exciting time
Mhm.
to be reimagining how we are in relation with each other. We became businesswomen in our generation in a certain time of how we were taught to market and how we were taught to sell and how we were taught to be in business. And honestly, they're around some pretty colonized practices. I also am excited about the urgency to rethink and reimagine how we are being in business in 2022. And that's actually what this conversation is all about. How are we in relation? How are we deliberately weaving with each other in a way that we collectively can come to a solution in the next 10 years at an exponential expression of our highest gifting, than any of us have been evidenced to or experienced in the last 30 years. Because I know what I've seen, I know where I've been, I know what I've experienced. I don't want to repeat that, quite frankly. It's been there, done that. And so now what? So we're on that precipice, and that's exciting to me. And I think that's exactly what Business for Social Good is all about. And I kind of want to swing into, if this conversation has woken someone up a little bit, that they're like, business for social good, that sounds interesting. Like, what would be the next step for them, or what would you have them know about your work, Deb? Or where to find you, those kind of things, and or what might you want to leave them with today?
I think I'd like to leave everyone with a question, and that is, how important is making a difference to you? So what I mean by that is, if making social impact, if using your business as a vehicle for change is important, then I just invite everyone to just lean into that. You can check out Business for Social Good on social, on our website. I think Tina's got that on the screen, and just engage with us. If you need help on how to do this, then have a look at our Social Good Academy. It's our training program. It's 12 weeks. It's myself and a faculty of other amazing humans that are showing up to co-create in this social impact space and deliver their area of expertise. So yeah, that's really my invitation to everyone, is how important is making a difference to you? And if that really resonates with you, then we're here. We're here for you. We're here to help you navigate that journey, and really use your business as a vehicle for change. Yeah.
I want to deepen that invitation.
Mm.
I love that. That's great. I want to deepen the invitation, because not everybody listening to this call is an entrepreneur or a business person.
Sure.
We speak volumes with our time, energy, and money, right? And we demonstrate what our priorities are by our time, energy, and money.
Yeah.
And the importance of doing that time, energy, and money audit, and look at, where am I spending my money, and paying attention to the businesses that get our dollars.
That's right.
And moving that needle. So that's I just want to deepen that invitation,
Well
and
said.
remind people that part of their social responsibility for social good is paying attention. Where am I spending my time, energy, and money? So thank you so much for that, Deb.
And if I can just add to that, it's also, and who I work for, because employees, in the shift of, our employees working for companies that are meaningful to them, they want to work for companies who have that resonate with their values, and that they can get on board with the social cause, the social good that company is doing. So it's, yes, you're right, Christina. It is about where we're spending our money, and the companies that we are aligning with, the brands that we're aligning with. But I think a big part of that as well is who we are working for. If, obviously, if not everyone is business owners, as you said. So, yeah.
I just wanted to add to that, I love that you mentioned the SDGs.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or your employee, I believe we all have a responsibility, and it's not one person's job or those people over there, their job to bring those SDGs to fruition. It's all of our responsibility. So thank you for mentioning that, and thank you for being on the leader path. This has been an amazing conversation. I just love that you're a part of our circle. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Right. That's my cue. We are at our almost hour.
Gosh, that went fast.
I know, right? I know. I'm just pulling up the link because I want to make sure, Deb, thank you so much for all that you've offered us today.
Thank you.
If you're just tuning in, please go to Business for Social Good and learn more about Deb Alcadinho. You've just hit the tail end, not you, but any listener, just hit the tail end of a Gather for Her conversation from Powerhouse Impact Media Group. We are a house of leaders for social impact, for change making, for global impact, cross-sector. We're a bridge organization of Indigenous and non-Indigenous, weaving Indigenous wisdom into all that we do. We use media as the beat of our drum to amplify leaders like Deb, change makers like Deb, the good work that they are doing as we move toward 2030 and a vision of a co-created world that we are all in together. This conversation is unscripted. We start somewhere, and in our approach of listening, our listening approach, our circle approach, we are harvesting the jewels between all of us and diving into that. We are trusting the wisdom that's arriving between us. What that means is it's so present that we haven't unpacked it yet. And so next week, please, if you're listening, join us in a private wisdom circle where we actually go into the things that Deb talked about and unpack them so we can learn how to live with them and implement them in our lives. You can get there by going to, I'm just going to pop the link up here, by going to powerhouse.com and gather, and there's a registration page. If you want to join our Gather for Her audience and join us privately to unpack it, please do this. And also know at the end of our wisdom circle next week that we'll be having a conversation about the leader path itself, because many of you leaders are looking for a community of practice that talks this talk and is like, you've got that just statement in your head. If you're thinking back about the beginning and you want to belong somewhere, thanks to what Deb offered, and you want to be part of social good. So please join us. So back to you, Deb. I want to give you the last word of anything you want to say. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to have you, anything you want to say to close us?
Well, thank you and the whole team for this opportunity to be here and have this impactful conversation. It's important. It's really important. And I just feel, there's that word again. I feel that I feel a great sense of urgency to do this work, to do this, to bring this impactful work to the world right now. I think it's needed. And I'm not looking to change the world. I'm just looking to change my little corner of the world with Canada. That's all, just Canada. So if anybody wants to join me and, and create social impact change in Canada, I believe that women will completely change the social impact space in Canada in the next decade. So that's my invitation for whoever wants to join me on this path.
Thank you, Deb. And thank you, listeners. And thank you, Braid, for your time and love today. We will see you all next week in the Wisdom Circle. And if we don't see you there, we'll see you in 2 weeks here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. All right, gang. See you on the path.
Bye.
Bye.